The real history behind Mythical Beasts prologue. Shadows beyond the firelight. Since the dawn of human speech, our ancestors have told stories of creatures that lurk just beyond the firelight. Some were protectors, others destroyers. They had claws or wings, scales or shimmering fur, and they lived not just in the forests and seas, but in the imagination. Yet, behind each mythical beast lies a shadow of truth, a scrap of fossil, a fleeting glimpse of an unfamiliar animal, or the echo of an ancient fear. This is the true history of mythical beasts, and the surprising realities that may have inspired them. The dragon's distant ancestors. The dragon is one of humanity's oldest and most widespread myths. From the imperial dragons of China to the fire-breathing terrors of medieval Europe, nearly every culture has imagined enormous serpent-like creatures. But why? Long before paleontology existed, people stumbled upon the bones of enormous animals buried in the earth. In China, farmers sometimes uncovered dinosaur fossils, massive skulls, rib cages, and curved claws, and assumed they were the remains of long-dead dragons. Ancient texts from as far back as the Han Dynasty describe dragon bones ground into powder for medicine. In the West, fossilized remains of creatures like the woolly rhinoceros or the extinct giraffe-like Sametherium were misidentified as dragons. A shepherd finding a weathered skull with long teeth might imagine a predator beyond human scale. Over centuries, these bones became proof of legends already told, and those legends grew in detail with every retelling. The Kraken and the giant of the deep. Medieval sailors spoke in hushed tones about the Kraken, a sea monster so massive that its back could be mistaken for an island. Tales from Nordic countries describe it dragging entire ships beneath the waves with its tentacles. But in the dark, lightless ocean, reality is often stranger than fiction. Today, we know about the giant squid Archaeoteuthis ducks, and its even more elusive cousin, the colossal squid Mesonicoteuthis hamiltoni, which can grow over 40 feet long. Sailors encountering pieces of their enormous tentacles washed ashore or floating in the water might have guessed they belonged to a single creature of unimaginable size. The Kraken myth also thrived because of a simple fact: most sailors never saw the whole animal. A mass of tentacles breaking the surface, a sudden pull on a fishing net, or a swirl of water near the hull could all be exaggerated into the legendary beasts that haunted their voyages. Griffins and the gold of the desert. The griffin, part eagle, part lion, guarded treasures and deserts and mountains, according to Greek and Persian legends. But the real origin may lie in the windswept plains of Central Asia. The Scythians, nomadic people of the Eurasian steppe, traded gold along ancient routes. As they mined in the Gobi Desert, they encountered the fossilized skeletons of Protoceratops, a small dinosaur with a beaked face and a long frill. Its bones, partially exposed by wind erosion, resembled a winged lion in the imagination of those unfamiliar with dinosaurs. Stories spread of a creature that protected gold from thieves, a perfect deterrent for real-world treasure hunters. Over time, Greek travelers adapted the Scythian stories into the griffin we know today. Mermaids and the misunderstood sea cows. For centuries, sailors swore they saw women of the sea, half human, half fish. Christopher Columbus even wrote about sighting mermaids near the Caribbean, though he noted they were not as beautiful as painted. The likely culprit, manatees and dugongs. Seen from a distance, their rounded heads and arm-like flippers might resemble a human form, especially to sailors longing for company during months at sea. Add in shimmering sunlight on water and the haze of heat, and you have a recipe for mistaken identity. Mermaid myths, however, were not just the product of lonely sailors. Many cultures from Africa to Polynesia had stories of water spirits, goddesses, and river protectors. The manatee sightings may have merged with older spiritual tales, creating the mermaid archetype that has endured for centuries, the basilisk, born of snakes and fear. In medieval bestiaries, the basilisk was described as the king of serpents, a reptile whose mere gaze could kill. Some stories said it was hatched from an egg laid by a rooster and incubated by a toad. While no such creature exists, the myth may have roots in sightings of real venomous snakes, particularly the hooded cobra. In parts of North Africa, cobras can raise their heads high off the ground and maintain eye contact with perceived threats, a posture that could be seen as hypnotic or deadly. The basilisk also reveals something about human psychology. fear often magnifies reality. A venomous bite might be retold as a death by sight alone, and over generations, the legend hardens into fact. Werewolves, or the beast within. From the forests of medieval France to the icy villages of Eastern Europe, stories of humans transforming into wolves appear across cultures. While some see these as pure superstition, there may be darker origins. Rabies, for instance, can cause aggression, foaming at the mouth, and a tendency to bite, all wolf-like behaviors. Historical cases describe outbreaks in which victims seemed possessed by an animal spirit. In other cases, werewolves may have been real people suffering from hypertrichosis, a rare genetic condition that causes excessive hair growth. Werewolf trials in the 16th and 17th centuries reveal another truth: fear of the outsider. Many accused were marginalized or mentally ill, and the wolf became a symbol of the dangerous other lurking in human form. The phoenix, a symbol older than time, a bird that bursts into flames and is reborn from its ashes, appears in Egyptian, Greek, Roman, and Chinese traditions. But its roots may lie in the natural world. In Egypt, the Bennu bird, associated with the sun god Ra, was inspired by the heron-like gray-crowned crane, known for returning to the same nesting place year after year. The rebirth could have been a poetic interpretation of migration cycles. Another possibility comes from the Middle East, where people observed certain birds sunning themselves with wings outstretched, feathers catching the light in fiery hues. Over centuries, these simple behaviors became woven into a story of eternal renewal, a concept deeply appealing to human cultures facing cycles of life and death. Cyclopes and the skull of the giant. Greek myths tell of the Cyclopes, one-eyed giants who built great works and clashed with gods. In reality, their skulls may have been inspired by prehistoric elephant remains. The island of Crete and other parts of the Mediterranean were once home to dwarf elephants. Their skulls have a large central cavity where the trunk attached, a feature that, to an untrained observer, looks like a single enormous eye socket. Ancient people, finding these skulls in caves, could easily imagine they belonged to giants. The myth fit neatly into the Greek worldview, where monstrous beings existed alongside heroes and gods. Vampires and the science of decay. The vampire legend, pale skin, fear of sunlight, thirst for blood, emerged strongly in Eastern Europe. But before it was a romantic Gothic figure, it was a terrifying corpse that preyed on the living. In the days before forensic science, natural processes of decomposition were poorly understood. A body exhumed weeks after burial might appear bloated, with darkened lips and blood-like fluid around the mouth. The skin could shrink, making teeth appear more prominent. Diseases like porphyria, which cause light sensitivity and reddish teeth, may also have contributed to vampire lore. In some villages, people took extreme measures, staking bodies or burning them, to prevent the dead from rising. The Minotaur and the Palace of Knossos. In Greek myth, the Minotaur, half-man, half-bull, lived in a labyrinth beneath the palace of King Minos. Archaeological excavations at Knossos in Crete reveal a sprawling palace complex with twisting corridors and bull imagery everywhere. The Minoans practiced bull leaping, a dangerous sport where athletes would grab a bull's horns and flip over its back. Outsiders hearing about this might have imagined a human-bull hybrid. The labyrinth could be a poetic metaphor for the confusing palace layout, exaggerated over centuries into a monster's lair. Lessons from Legends Mythical Beasts are more than campfire tales, they are windows into the human mind. They show how people interpret the unknown, turning fossils into dragons, sea shadows into krakens, and disease into vampirism. In a way, these creatures are real, not in flesh and blood, but in the power they hold over our fears, hopes, and imaginations. Even today, new myths form around creatures we barely understand, from deep-sea oddities to UFO sightings. The lesson is simple: humans are storytellers by nature, and we will always weave the strange into something greater than ourselves.